My wife Carol and I have been married for almost 10 years. We've been through a lot together, buying our first house, getting a dog, and even weathering a few rough patches. I've always trusted her completely. She's been my rock and my partner through it all. A few months ago, a new neighbor, Sam, moved in next door. He seemed like a nice guy, always friendly and eager to chat when we crossed paths. Carol and I invited him over for a barbecue to welcome him to the neighborhood, and everything seemed fine. We laughed over drinks, swapped stories about our lives, and I remember thinking how great it was to have someone our age living nearby. I didn't think much of it at first, but over time I started noticing how often Sam was around. It was little things at first, like seeing him outside chatting with Carol when I got home from work, or spotting his car parked nearby when I left in the morning. Carol would casually mention bumping into him at the grocery store or grabbing a coffee, and while it seemed innocent enough, I couldn't shake a nagging feeling. I didn't want to seem paranoid, so I shrugged it off as coincidence. I trusted Carol, and I didn't want to be the jealous type. Then things started to get weird. Carol would mention going for a walk and would come back hours later. Or she'd say she was running errands and seemed oddly distant when she got home. She started being on her phone more, laughing at texts she wouldn't share with me, saying they were just her girlfriends catching up. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, so I pushed my suspicions aside. One afternoon, I decided to come home early from work. It was a last-minute decision, and I didn't tell Carol because I thought it would be a nice surprise. As I pulled up to our house, I noticed Sam's car parked out front. My heart dropped a bit, but I still tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe he was just helping her with something around the house. I entered the house quietly, not wanting to disturb anything if she was busy. The house was eerily silent, except for some faint noises coming from the bedroom. As I got closer, I heard hushed voices. My heart started pounding, and I felt a pit in my stomach. I stood outside the bedroom door, listening. I couldn't make out everything they were saying, but it was clear enough that it wasn't just a friendly chat. I heard my name mentioned once, and that's when it hit me. They were talking about how to handle things if I found out. I felt like the floor had been pulled out from under me. My mind was racing, trying to process what I was hearing. I pushed the door open, and there they were, Carol and Sam, caught in the act. The look on their faces when they saw me is something I'll never forget. The room was frozen in time, a moment of disbelief and betrayal etched into my memory. Carol immediately started crying, trying to explain, but the damage was done. I couldn't listen to her excuses or whatever reasoning she thought she had. I turned around and left the house, needing to clear my head. I drove around for hours, ending up at a park where we used to go when we first started dating. I sat there trying to wrap my head around everything. I felt betrayed, angry, and heartbroken all at once. Memories of our life together flooded my mind, each one tainted by the reality of what I'd discovered. Eventually, I went back home, knowing I had to face the situation. Carol was waiting, still trying to apologize, but I couldn't hear it. Her words felt hollow, like echoes in an empty room. I packed a bag and told her I needed space. I went to stay with a friend for a while, trying to figure out what to do next. It's been a few weeks now, and I'm certain about one thing. There's no going back. Trust is everything, and once it's broken like this, I know I can't rebuild it with her. I've started looking into the next steps to end our marriage. It's painful, but I can't live with someone who betrayed me so deeply. The future is uncertain, and the pain is still fresh, but I know I have to move forward. Story 2. I've been with my girlfriend Sarah for about 3 years. We met through mutual friends and things were great. We moved in together last year and I honestly thought she was the one. We shared dreams, made future plans, and everything seemed to be falling into place. But recently things started feeling off. Sarah always had a lot of friends and she loved going out. I've always trusted her and she trusted me. A couple of months ago, she mentioned a party that some old friends were throwing. She said it was just going to be a small get-together, nothing major. I had to work late that night, so I told her to go ahead and have fun. The night of the party, she got all dressed up more than usual, but I thought she just wanted to look nice for her friends. She left around 7 p.m., saying she'd probably be back late. I didn't think much of it and went on with my night, just catching up on some work and TV shows. The next day, everything seemed normal until I got a message from my buddy Alex. He sent me a picture from the party that someone had posted on Instagram. In the photo, Sarah was standing really close to this guy, who I didn't recognize. They looked a little too cozy, but I thought maybe it was just the angle or lighting. I asked her about it casually, and she laughed it off, saying he was just an old friend and that they were just catching up. I wanted to believe her, so I let it go. But over the next few weeks, I noticed she was on her phone more than usual. She'd be texting a lot, sometimes smiling at her screen, and when I asked who she was talking to, she'd say it was just her friends or work stuff. One weekend, she said she was going out with some girlfriends. This time, my gut told me something was up. I decided to check it out myself. I went to a bar near where the party was held, hoping to run into someone who might know what was going on. While there, I bumped into an acquaintance from college. We got to talking, and I mentioned Sarah. He got a strange look on his face and said he saw her recently at a bar with the same guy from the picture. He didn't want to say too much, but he hinted that they seemed more than just friends. That was enough for me. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but my suspicions were growing. I decided to check our shared computer at home for any clues. I know it wasn't the right thing to do, but I was desperate. Sure enough, I found emails and messages between Sarah and this guy, talking about times and places that matched the nights she said she was with her girlfriends. They were flirty and personal, filled with inside jokes and plans to meet up when I wasn't around. I even found a recent receipt for a hotel room, definitely not something you'd buy for a friendly catch-up. My heart sank. I knew then that she was lying to me. When she got home, I asked her directly about the guy, mentioning what I had found. She got defensive, saying I was overreacting and that they were just friends. But she couldn't explain the messages, the late nights, or the way she'd been acting. We argued for a long time, and in the end, she still denied anything was happening. But by then, I'd made up my mind. Trust is everything to me, and I just couldn't be with someone who didn't respect that. So I told her it was over. She cried and begged me to reconsider, but I just couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. I packed my things and left that night. I'm still working through it all. It's going to take time to heal and learn to trust again. Right now, everything feels uncertain, but I hope that eventually I'll find a way to move forward and open my heart again.